You know, one of the most profound discoveries I've had on this path is what really starts to happen when you stop letting your mind win. When you stop giving in to all of those intrusive thoughts, when you stop allowing yourself to just kind of allow your thinking to sort of spiral into these fantasies, worrying about the past, worrying about the future, thinking about the past. When you can kind of like break that pattern, phenomenal things really start to happen. I'm serious. It's more than just like a peace of mind. It's like your whole existence sort of changes. I got into this a lot when I first discovered Nisargadatta. You know, I've always been a huge fan of him. I still am. And I started reading his book, I Am. Actually, the book is called I Am That, sorry. And basically in I Am That, he talks about how when he first got on the spiritual journey, his guru told him to just stay focused all day. You want your awareness to just stay focused on this sense of I am. And I remember when I first found out about this and I heard other spiritual teachers and stuff talk about it, I was like, what the hell is I am? Like, what does that really mean? My mind was trying so hard, like it was making it so complicated, and it's really so simple that you'll just completely overlook it. The I am is just your being. It's, I guess essentially you can say it's the present moment, but it's more than just like, okay, I'm focusing right now on walking, right? That's kind of like mindfulness, right? It's a little bit more than that. It's a little deeper than that. It's literally just resting into this moment, like your mind and your body, just really feeling your own existence. And I think it's just a very hard thing to kind of put into verbal words. It's something you kind of discover on your own. But the more that you do this all throughout the day, and that's basically what he recommended in his book, and what he talks about a lot, is you just stay focused on this sense of being, your own awareness, not so much focusing on the externals, but just kind of resting on awareness itself. Your mind, the thoughts kind of start to subside, and you won't get lost in these sort of thought fantasies and worrying and all of this. You know, you'll come to realize that all worldly problems will start to fix themselves when you stop focusing so much externally and just bring everything into right here and now. It is quite phenomenal. And you can even just sort of practice it right now if you just sort of relax yourself a little bit. And just kind of, you can start by focusing on your breath for a few seconds, and then just sort of really notice like that emptiness inside of you. And you really have to get used to doing this every time you notice that your mind is wandering off and thinking about this thing or that thing, or attaching yourself to some memory or some future worry. When you really just get used to bringing yourself back to awareness every single time, it becomes sort of a habit, because you see, your mind is so conditioned to just think, due to probably this sort of chaotic lifestyle that a lot of us live in the West. And I think it's also just the nature of the ego. But when you're willing to pull yourself away from that every time, your mind starts to get more conditioned to just being in awareness as opposed to always thinking. You know, and a lot of people, depending on your life circumstances, some people are more naturally calm and don't think as much. But maybe if you know, had a very sort of, you could have had a chaotic childhood, or you just are very like busy, you're a very busy kind of person or something like that, a very chaotic lifestyle or whatever, your mind might be more inclined to always cling to thought and to worry and to fear and to regret and guilt, so on. But the more, you know, it's very like scientific in a way, if you think about it. It's not really some mystical spiritual thing. You're just sort of conditioning your mind to be here in the present, as opposed to always thinking. And you do this, and your sort of awareness will, your ability to stay grounded in awareness will increase over time. And that's essentially what I think will lead most of us to enlightenment. Eventually, you'll just be in that awareness state. You'll just be one with reality at all times. And I remember I go through sort of phases of like really doing this a lot, like really being very vigilant about it, because you have to be very vigilant, which is why you kind of have to cut down your lifestyle and not be so distracted and busy all the time, because you have to spend some time alone in a very sort of slow-paced way of living to really be able to do this consistently. And I just remember how phenomenal it was. I would say I haven't been doing it as much, to be honest with you. Although I'm in a pretty calm state most of the time. But I do remember there were periods of time where it was almost just like, you know, my awakening had increased. So like my awareness had just increased so much, and it kind of like goes and it ebbs and flows. That's just how all of this type of work will be. You know, same with healing and all of that. It'll kind of come and go, I guess. That's just the nature of the journey, or any journey you go on in life. Your progress you might take 2 steps back, 2 steps forward. You know, that's just how it goes. But this is essentially what, you know, Ramana Maharshi spoke as well in self-inquiry. It's just really keeping your awareness focused on just awareness itself, not necessarily like when you practice mindfulness, you might want to focus on an object like your breath or a candle flame or some sort of object in the room, and just bring all of your attention to that, which is really helpful as well, by the way. That's really good for building your concentration. But then this is more of like not focusing on any specific object per se, but just on your awareness itself. And it's something you might have to practice, and perhaps maybe I'll put some sort of guided meditation together to you know, make it a little more clear, and I can cover all the nuances and things. But I think the most important thing to remember is to not let your mind get in the way and overthink this too much. That's what a lot of people did when he wrote his book, I Am That. They were kind of like banging their head against the wall, like, what the hell is the I Am? It's like so simple that our mind is going to try to make it so much more complicated than it needs to be, you know what I mean? But it's really just noticing, like, really throughout the day. You know, our mind is so sneaky, and it's just going to gravitate towards thought at any point in time. It's going to gravitate towards opinions and judgments and guilt and fear and so on. And you have to be willing to just be strong enough to not let it win, to not suck you into that whole thinking trap, and to just pull your mind right back into the now. This is like probably the most beneficial thing you could do, that, you know, this and the letting go technique that I speak about, these two things combined will completely transform your life and will make you see that nothing external is actually affecting you. That's why it was so profound when I really got into this and was really doing it very vigilantly. It was like, wow, there's not a single thing outside of me that has ever had an effect on me. It was always just the mind. And this is what the sort of enlightened sage realizes, you know? So anyway, it's worth a try. I highly recommend reading I Am That, or at the very least you can do research and look at certain quotes and things. Really profound knowledge. I really think he was one of the most like practical and direct spiritual teachers that ever existed. A lot of knowledge and wisdom in there. So I hope this was helpful, and let me know what you think.